You've probably seen it happen. Someone gets their motorcycle license, buys the perfect bike, posts those epic sunset photos, and then 3 months later, that same bike is gathering dust in their garage. What happened? They hit one of the invisible walls that separate weekend warriors from lifelong riders, and instead of pushing through, they walked away. Here's what nobody tells you about motorcycle riding. The honeymoon phase ends, and when it does, most people quit. But the riders who stick around? They know something the quitters don't. They understand that every challenge is just part of becoming a real rider. If you're finding value in this content, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what almost made you quit riding. Your story could help someone else push through their wall. Let's dive into the real reasons why most new riders give up. And more importantly, how to make sure you don't become another barely used motorcycle listing. The first mistake kills more riding dreams than crashes do. Buying the wrong bike. You see a sport bike in a movie and think that's what riding is about. Or your friend convinces you to get something you'll grow into. Here's the reality check. Most people grow out of it instead. Picture this. You're 5'7", weigh 130 pounds, and you just bought a 900-pound cruiser because it looked cool at the dealership. Every stop sign becomes a balancing act. Every parking lot maneuver turns into an embarrassing struggle. That's not riding. That's suffering with a license plate. Or maybe you went the other direction. Bought a sport bike for suburban commuting with speed bumps and traffic lights every few blocks. Your wrists are screaming, your back is cramping, and you're wondering why something so beautiful feels so miserable. The connection between rider and machine starts with the right match. Your height, your strength, your daily roads, your actual riding goals. Not your fantasy version, your real-life version. Because when every ride feels like wrestling an unwilling partner, the magic disappears fast. The solution is brutal honesty. Sit on different bikes. Talk to experienced riders who actually know your situation. Think about your Monday morning commute, not your Sunday afternoon dreams. The right bike doesn't just keep you riding, it makes you fall in love with riding all over again. The second dream killer is Hollywood expectations. You know the scene. Twist the throttle, ride into the sunset, wind in your hair, everything perfect and cinematic. But real riding isn't a commercial. It's sweating at red lights. It's fogged visors and missed shifts. It's bugs, so many bugs hitting your helmet that you start to wonder if there's a conspiracy. New riders often expect constant spiritual enlightenment on two wheels. But sometimes riding is just transportation with extra steps. Sometimes it's frustrating when you can't find neutral. Sometimes it's scary when that car doesn't see you merging. The fantasy breaks down when reality sets in. And instead of adjusting expectations, some riders just decide it's not for them. But here's what they're missing. Those perfect moments do happen, but they're earned through the awkward phase, the learning curve, the gradual mastery of machine and mind working together. Don't abandon the dream. Just understand that like all worthwhile skills, the magic comes after the work. Riding is a craft that rewards persistence, not a shortcut to instant gratification. Fear stops more riders than anything else. Every sound becomes a mechanical failure. Every car in your mirror feels like a threat. Every curve looks like it might launch you into the unknown. That first week of riding can be overwhelming, and for some people, it never gets better. Fear is natural and necessary. Your brain is correctly identifying that this machine moves fast and has no protective cage around you. The difference between riders who quit and those who thrive is how they process that fear. Successful riders don't ignore fear or pretend to be fearless. They ride through it systematically. They practice in empty parking lots until muscle memory starts replacing panic. They talk to other riders who've been through the same experience. They treat fear as information, not as a stop sign. The riders who quit let fear simmer under the surface. They pretend everything's fine while every ride becomes a stress test. Eventually, they just stop riding for a little while. And that little while becomes forever. You don't need to be reckless to ride a motorcycle. You need to be aware, prepared, and honest about your comfort level. Fear isn't your enemy. Ignorance is. Every rider has that moment. The panic stop that leaves your hands shaking. The slide on wet pavement that teaches you about physics the hard way. The near miss with a distracted driver that makes your heart pound through your jacket. For some riders, that's the end of the story. But here's what separates the riders who continue from those who quit. What they do with that experience. Did you figure out what went wrong? Were you going too fast for conditions? Did you grab too much front brake? Were you looking down instead of through the turn? Experienced riders treat close calls like expensive education. They slow down, practice emergency maneuvers, maybe take an advanced riding course. They turn that was terrifying into, "Next time I'll be ready." The riders who quit treat scary moments like bad luck instead of learning opportunities. They don't debrief, don't practice, don't improve. They just hope it won't happen again. And when it inevitably does, they're no more prepared than before. If you're serious about motorcycling, accept that challenging moments are part of the curriculum. The goal isn't to avoid them completely, it's to handle them better each time. Riding alone can be peaceful, meditative, almost spiritual. But when you're learning, solo rides can fast-track you to boredom and burnout. Without other riders around, there's nobody to encourage you through the difficult parts, nobody to share the learning process, nobody to remind you that everyone struggles at first. Some beginners assume motorcycling is naturally a solitary activity. They go out on the same short loop, come home and think, "Is this all there is?" The rides get shorter, less frequent, and eventually the bike just sits in the garage. But when you ride with others, especially people slightly more experienced than you, everything changes. You learn faster because you're seeing different techniques. You get encouraged through the rough spots. You realize how much you don't know, but also how enjoyable the learning process can be. Those sketchy moments become shared stories instead of private embarrassments. The close calls become teaching opportunities. The parking lot mistakes turn into confidence builders instead of reasons to quit. Find your people. Join a local riding group. Attend bike nights. Connect with online communities. Motorcycling was never meant to be a lonely pursuit. It's a culture, and you're supposed to be part of it. Some people treat getting a motorcycle like trying a new diet or hobby. They see some social media posts, get excited, spend money, and expect immediate results. But riding isn't a phase you go through. It's a skill you develop over months and years. These are the riders who buy the bike, ride twice a month, and never actually practice anything specific. Emergency stops? They did that in the safety course once. Slow speed maneuvering? Why would they need that? Cornering technique? They just lean and hope for the best. They think passing the basic riding test means they're fully qualified, like getting a driver's license means you're ready for Formula One. Then, unexpected situations expose their lack of real skills, and suddenly they're not feeling confident anymore. The problem isn't the motorcycle, it's that they never learned to truly ride it. They thought ownership equaled competence, but owning a piano doesn't make you a musician. And owning a motorcycle doesn't make you a skilled rider. Real riders treat their bikes like precision instruments that require ongoing practice and refinement. They expect to train, not just to ride. They understand that competence comes from repetition, not from good intentions. Here's an uncomfortable truth about motorcycling. You're going to deal with weather whether you like it or not. Rain, heat, cold, wind, and whatever else nature decides to throw at you. But many new riders don't fully grasp this until they're soaked, frozen, or overheating in traffic on a 95-degree day. They imagine perfect conditions for every ride, then reality delivers helmet fog and uncomfortable gear. The thing about motorcycles is, you're not in a climate-controlled environment. You're part of the world, experiencing every element directly. For some riders, that's part of the appeal. For others, it's the moment they decide motorcycling isn't for them. Fair weather riders start strong in spring, skip riding during a few rainy weeks, then realize it's late summer and the bike is covered in dust. That momentum dies fast, and once it's gone, getting it back requires extra effort. The solution isn't to suffer through miserable conditions, it's to adapt and prepare. Get proper gear for different weather. Learn to ride safely in light rain. Plan shorter rides during extreme temperatures. Make the motorcycle part of your life in all seasons, not just during perfect weather. If you're waiting for ideal conditions, you're not really a rider. You're a tourist. The internet overflows with motorcycle advice, and much of it ranges from questionable to dangerous. You'll find people confidently telling beginners to skip professional training, buy powerful bikes immediately, or ignore safety gear if you're a good rider. Some new rider reads this advice, buys an inappropriate motorcycle, skips proper training, cheaps out on protective equipment, and gets hurt or scared in their first few weeks. Then they blame motorcycling instead of the terrible guidance that set them up for failure. It's not just online advice either. Well-meaning friends and family members who rode decades ago often give outdated or inappropriate suggestions. The enthusiast, who's been riding for years but never learned proper techniques, has plenty of confident opinions too. Bad advice leads to fear, frustration, injuries, and embarrassment. Smart new riders question everything, seek information from multiple credible sources, and prioritize learning from qualified instructors over listening to the loudest voices. Trust people who ride skillfully and safely, not just people who ride confidently. The best riders remain students throughout their motorcycling journey. Every skilled rider you admire was once completely incompetent. They stalled at traffic lights, forgot to put down kickstands, and struggled with basic maneuvers in front of other people. That's the price everyone pays for developing real skills. But many new riders can't handle looking foolish during the learning process. They want to project competence from day one, complete with matching gear and confident posture. The moment they make an obvious mistake in public, the illusion shatters, and for some people, that's enough to quit. They bought into the image of motorcycling without accepting the messy, awkward learning phase that comes first. Every expert was once a beginner who made embarrassing mistakes and kept going anyway. The riders who develop real skills embrace the learning process, including the inevitable moments of looking less than smooth. They laugh at their mistakes, learn from them, and gradually improve. If you're too concerned about appearances to look incompetent temporarily, you'll never become competent permanently. Here's a classic delusion that ends many motorcycling dreams: the idea that a motorcycle will save money compared to a car. Sure, fuel efficiency might be better, but most beginners aren't prepared for the total cost of motorcycle ownership. They focus on the purchase price and forget about everything else. Quality protective gear easily costs over $1,000. Insurance, registration, and maintenance add up quickly. Tires wear out faster than car tires. Chain maintenance, brake pads, oil changes every few thousand miles, and various fluids all require regular attention and money. Then, there are the upgrades that seem necessary once you start riding more seriously. Phone mounts lead to heated grips, which lead to aftermarket exhausts, LED lighting, better seats, and before you know it, you're looking at credit card debt shaped like a motorcycle. Motorcycles can be economical if you're smart about it, but they're not automatically cheap. Budget for the complete experience, not just the initial dream. You don't need to be a master mechanic to ride a motorcycle, but if you think basic maintenance will handle itself, you're setting yourself up for frustration. Motorcycles are high-performance machines with exposed components that require regular attention from their owners. This means checking tire pressure, cleaning and lubricating the chain, monitoring oil condition, and learning to spot potential problems before they become expensive failures. But many beginners avoid these responsibilities, either assuming it's too advanced or feeling intimidated by the mechanical aspects. They ignore small problems until they become big, expensive ones. That frustration builds quickly, and more than a few new riders quit, not because they stopped enjoying riding, but because they got tired of dealing with a motorcycle they never learned to maintain properly. Riding is only enjoyable when your bike works reliably. Learn the basic maintenance requirements or prepare for disappointment. Some people buy a motorcycle like they're buying exercise equipment. It looks impressive in the garage, represents good intentions, and then sits unused while life continues around it. They get the machine, but never develop the habits, mindset, or lifestyle integration that makes riding sustainable. Motorcycling involves more than turning a key and riding away. It's developing routines for gear preparation, pre-ride inspections, route planning, and post-ride maintenance. It's learning to think differently about traffic, weather, and road conditions. It's a mental shift toward greater awareness and preparation. When someone treats a motorcycle like a toy instead of a lifestyle choice, riding always feels clumsy and disconnected. They approach it like tourists in their own hobby, never developing the rhythm and comfort that makes motorcycling truly enjoyable. To make riding last, you need to live it mentally and practically. Study techniques, connect with the community, understand your machine, practice regularly, and think like someone whose life includes motorcycles, not just someone who owns one. This might be the most common way motorcycling dreams die. It starts innocently. I'll ride next weekend when I have more time. Next week becomes next month. Before you know it, the motorcycle has been sitting for months with a dead battery, flat spotted tires, and fuel that smells like varnish. The longer a motorcycle sits unused, the harder it becomes to restart both mechanically and mentally. A neglected bike punishes you for the neglect. Now you need to replace the battery, clean fuel systems, check tire condition, and handle various maintenance issues that accumulated during storage. That repair list grows while motivation shrinks, and eventually the bike gets listed for sale with the classic description of great condition, just haven't had time to ride lately. The solution is simple, but requires commitment. Ride regularly, even if just for short trips. Keep the motorcycle part of your routine because the less you ride, the less you want to ride. That's how passions fade away, quietly instead of dramatically. Most people don't quit motorcycling because they hate motorcycles. They quit because they encountered challenges nobody warned them about, made predictable mistakes, and didn't know how to push through the difficult parts. But every experienced rider has been exactly where struggling beginners are right now. Confused, frustrated, wondering if the effort is worth the reward. What separates lifelong riders from people who quit isn't natural talent or expensive equipment. It's mindset. Understanding that motorcycling is a skill that develops over time, a lifestyle that requires commitment, and a process that includes setbacks and breakthroughs. You will feel awkward, make mistakes, and question your decisions. That's normal and temporary if you keep going. The rewards justify every moment of uncertainty, every embarrassing mistake, every uncomfortable ride in difficult conditions. But you only discover that by persisting through the challenges instead of giving up when things get difficult. So if you're new to motorcycling, learn from these common mistakes instead of repeating them. Push through the walls instead of turning around. Ride with purpose and commitment, not just enthusiasm. What about you? What almost made you quit riding? Or what kept you going when motorcycling felt overwhelming? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what another rider needs to hear to keep going.